Welcome to the Overrated Experience Sports and Sports Betting Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Blunden, along with
Austin from Ajax, baby.
Austin from Ajax is back, and we're here to talk sports betting, sports gambling, anything related to gambling, related to sports, all connected to each other. And then we will let you know that our focus here today is going to be NFL action, Week 15. The season is creeping along. It's almost over. I can't believe we're at this point where we're almost hitting the playoffs. From Ajax, can you believe that we're this far gone in the NFL season?
It goes within a blink of an eye. You know, these football seasons are really short. It feels like it's been a couple weeks, to be honest.
Yeah, it goes very, very fast, and sometimes it feels too long because you just want to get your weekends back, your Sundays back, because you're so gravitated to sitting down watching 8 hours of football action into the evening. But here are the Overrated Experience. You're joining us. We are an in-between square and sharp kind of podcast. Yes, we'll use analytics and we'll use strategy to make our plays that you're going to hear today, but we, like you, get caught up in the action, the thrill, and sometimes chasing when we shouldn't chase. So that's kind of what you're in store for here today. You can follow the Overrated Experience at Overrated EXPER2. That's Overrated EXPER2, and that's on X, aka Twitter. You can also follow us on YouTube at Overrated Experience. You can also get the pod there. And you can follow us on Instagram at Overrated Experience. So welcome, everybody. Welcome back to everybody who's supported the podcast week over week. We hear you, we see you, and we enjoy your listening. So thank you very much. We're going to get into it. We're going to talk a few things before we get into the Sunday card. And I am going to first open up about there are some times where, there are losses that you have on any given Sunday. And we've talked about them back, Stephon Diggs play with the Vikings, beating the New Orleans Saints, where it just keeps you up at night. And you really think about replaying whatever situation in your head because you think it's going to change if you think about it long enough. And that occurred to me a few times from last weekend into Thursday. That Philadelphia Eagles loss on Monday night, I had the play where I had a same game parlay. And again, you kids out there, same game parlays are not the way to go to make money consistently in sports gambling. But I too get caught up on the nice little promotions about profit boosts and throw a few shillings on those same game parlays. Anyway, I had a 30% profit boost on the Eagles. Jalen Hurts to throw just 150 yards passing, which he eventually got to. I had the game to go over 29.5 points, which is no problem. But the big part and the big rub here is I had the Eagles to win outright. And the way it went down was just so ugly and frustrating to watch because they kept turning the ball over. Jalen Hurts kept throwing picks. There was a point earlier in the first half where he throws a pick. The Eagles defense punches the ball loose. It comes back to Jalen Hurts. He fumbles again. He fumbles after recovering. But the game's still it's close. And then we get to the fourth quarter where the Eagles take the lead. They had an opportunity. A.J. Brown, I thought he missed a pass where it's an A.J. Brown kind of reception he should make to kind of pull ahead of a touchdown instead of a field goal. The Chargers march down, tie the games. Dicker the kicker, man. The guy there was no even thought that he was going to miss anything that night. He was hitting from everywhere. And then we get to overtime. The Chargers, they go up by 3. And keep in mind that Eagles defense kept this team in that game. 7 sacks on Justin Herbert. Outstanding. But they did give up a field goal in overtime. And with the field goal and with the NFL rules in overtime, each team gets a possession. The Eagles march down to midfield. A big fourth down or third down, whatever it was, big pass to Devontae Smith to you feel like the Eagles, this has got to be their game with that huge pass. And then they are on the 13-yard line or something like that. First down, in the red zone, first down. Jalen Hurts, just panics and throws just an ugly pass up where it's tipped, and you got two guys like in the secondary making acrobatic plays to turn the ball over. Just sickening. Just sickening that, Jalen Hurts had a piss poor game, and he hasn't had a great year. He comes back and makes a few big throws, and then we're talking about a Super Bowl MVP. We're talking about a Super Bowl MVP, potentially could have been a two-time Super Bowl MVP if they'd have won in that first Super Bowl against Kansas City. He looked like he was back to Jalen Hurts, first-year quarterback, panicking, not calm under pressure, just ugly, disgusting. And again, I went to bed after watching what just happened, that turnover, after getting my hopes up that the Eagles would score, and I couldn't go to sleep. I couldn't go to sleep because I kept replaying that fucking play in my head, and I felt if I could replay it, I could change it. It would change in my head. Of course it won't, but that's just the way a gambler looks at things. But add that in, and sorry, Austin, I'm taking time on here, my soapbox.
It's okay.
And then you go into Thursday night, and same idea, stupid me. I take a same game parlay, but it's as simple as the game to go over 30-something points and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to outright win against the Atlanta Falcons, who've looked like absolute garbage this season. And the only hope that they have is a Bijan Robinson monster game. Yeah. And we're talking about a Thursday nighter where the Atlanta Falcons had multiple penalties, ridiculous penalties. They were down 14 points in the fourth quarter, missing 2-point conversions on their march back to try to tie this ball game. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lose. I fell asleep on the couch when it was, I think, they scored, went for a 2-point conversion, but the Buccaneers were still up by 8 points. I passed out on the couch because, it was just late and fell asleep. To wake up, groggy eye, you're wiping your eye, like, what the hell's going on? What? I mean, I woke up just as Kirk Cousins put them in field goal position, and I'm looking at, oh shit, their field goal's going to win this game. It's a 43-yard field goal.
Yeah.
And I'm scrambling. What happened here? It was like the movie Hangover. I had to retrace my steps of like, how did we get here? How did the Buccaneers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, coming off a loss to the New Orleans Saints, again, shit the bed and choke. Not even just lose, but just lose in that way. Giving up, like, not just 14 points, but they had the advantage of the penalties on Atlanta. They missed 2-point conversions. Also, it was like 3rd and 28. Like 3rd and 28. And they can't shut it out.
Mike Evans comes back, gets 11 catches, and still the job doesn't get done. It's
doesn't
insane.
Get out. Like he was Mike Evans was on fire. He was like a difference maker. And they can't close the door and seal the deal. So just a bad 5-day turnaround of disgust. And like, I almost canceled the podcast right there. Just this gambling topic sucks. But that's the way gambling goes. So that's my tirade. That's my soapbox to kick off the podcast. Sorry, Austin Majax. Do you have anything to add? I don't know if you had any action on any of those games.
No.
And felt any way like I did.
No, I actually did have action on those games, so I definitely feel what you were feeling there. But I just want to mention, we talked about how fast the season went by. Would it also be worth mentioning that this may be the craziest football season that we've watched in a very long time? I've been watching football since 2015, and I think since 2015, I haven't seen like a crazier season just of teams not being where they're supposed to be and not getting the job done. Kansas City and the Eagles, both in the Super Bowl last year. If you combine the last 10 weeks or 10 games for these teams, they have 2-3 wins. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, like and you know what? I'll throw out a bad beat. It was more on you than it was me. You had Cleveland to knock off the Tennessee Titans at home. And, from your perspective, I got to imagine that you thought that was a write-off, like after, it hit in the fourth quarter, that Cleveland was out of it. It was done. And then, oh boy, here comes Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns marching back. And how does it end? Austin, run us through how it ended, how you lost.
So to put it within one touchdown, for some reason, the Browns go for 2 points instead of one. And, that forces them at the end of the game when they get the touchdown, instead of getting that, 95%, 99% chance to win with the extra point, just kick it, boom, you're going to overtime. Nope, they go for a 2-point play, and it's one of the worst 2-point plays I've ever seen in my life. Just a complete a collapse of a play. But, I'm not
Yeah.
even mad at the play. I'm mad at the decision. Where was the logic to go for two on the touchdown previous?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. You have a team that had Shedeur Sanders throw 300 plus yards. I mean, he was their key weapon in that comeback, and then you take him out, and then you have a trick play that didn't go well, and you look like complete morons. Like that's the kind of stuff where I enjoy a good review. I like a good breakdown of an NFL matchup, and I'm not saying I don't watch these things, and I don't take information out as good info to kind of think towards where I am going to make a play. So you go on Instagram, you watch NFL Network, ESPN, everywhere where it's the breakdown, a pregame where they're walking through who's going to win and why, or some, a specific betting podcast or whatever, breaking down reasons why teams will win, lose, or cover spread or over under. But, take that with a grain of salt, because there's never factored in all these plays you can't predict. You can't predict somebody taking a stupid penalty. I can't remember what game it was. It was Baltimore. So, like, we've seen that the Baltimore Ravens lost against the Steelers. And by the way, that reminded me, like, I don't know if you've seen that lively catch that was ruled no touchdown in the end zone where he had two hands on it, 2 steps. But for some reason, you have to make a third step in the end zone. That's fucking dumb. So they got job there. But nobody's going to remember at the end of the game there where the Steelers had the punt and they would have the ball roughly 40-yard line, 50-yard line. But some asshole on the Baltimore Ravens takes a holding penalty on the kick. How stupid you got to be that you understand that you have a limited time on the clock to march down the field because you need a touchdown. You just don't need a field goal. You need a touchdown. And at worst, you're going to have the ball at the 35, 40-yard line with over a minute to go. And how is it not common knowledge that you would, probably be extra cautious to not take any penalties to move you, take any risk to move you back? Yes, you want to put yourself in a position for a potential punt return, but the odds are there's going to be a fair catch wave, and I'm going to take the ball and get the ball in Lamar's hands. Those are the things that you'll forget about, you can't analyze, and these are huge factors in these games and in the outcomes. Yes, thank you everybody for your Instagram / NFL Network breakdown / VSiN breakdown of why you believe one team over another. But, you're full of shit because there's factors out there you cannot measure or predict that make huge, absolutely huge directional changes in football games. So that's my tirade again. I can't get off this, man. I just not get off this. And let's shift over to another topic I wanted to talk about. And if you watch that Kansas City game on Sunday night, the thought was that loss to Houston was kind of like the final nail in the coffin to the Kansas City Chiefs era, dynasty, you might say, over the last 10 years, making, 10 straight AFC championship appearances. They're coming off of 3 Super Bowl appearances in a row. Outstanding track record for this Kansas City Chiefs team. But when you watched on Sunday night, they just didn't have it. I mean, you felt they were going to pull it out one way or another. It's coming. And they didn't have it. But the positive thing here is I'm not going to shit on Patrick Mahomes. Man, he had every ounce of effort trying to put the team on his back to try to get over the hump here and get that win. Scrambling, taking hits. And you have like the Rashid Rices of the world dropping key 4th down passes, like just through his hands. And this guy's supposed to be your big time receiver that you were waiting on his suspension to be over. And we talked about Travis Kelce last week, and I mentioned potentially moving on. And I think you were gonna, you didn't say it, but I know we talked afterwards that you felt to bring him back. He's toast. Like he might have. He's at the stage of his career where, just like Gronk, where I think he needs to say, "Hey, I'm stepping back. I'm stepping back next year. I'm not going to start the season, whether it be Kansas City or anybody else, and we'll see what happens as the year goes on." He's a higher gun now. That's the stage of career he's in where he is the guy either that will be ready for Kansas City in week 14, 15 next year if they decide to make another run, and they do make another run. But he's out of that stage where, yeah, we've seen him produce weeks earlier, but he's out of gas. He had huge drops. That interception at the end where he's juggling the ball and the game's over because he can't hold on to it, that's not Travis Kelce that we know. He's toast. He's done. So you could have a difference of opinion on that. My opinion is he's a part-time, impactful, no question, but he's done as a full-time NFL player. Austin, what do you say to that?
I think Travis Kelce, he's still, I would say he's still better than your average tight end. Don't get me wrong, but he's getting older and you can't rely on him to be the difference maker. That's the issue. If they had another elite wide receiver and then Rashee Rice and he was their third option, I'd say that's solid. That's fine, but I don't like Travis Kelce in this point in his career being the first or second option in a team. I feel like he's lost a step. You're right. He has too much miles on the tank. Honestly, resting and then, kind of using him as more of a playoff weapon would honestly be a very sound strategy in my opinion. But I don't think he's like completely washed. I just think he's old. He's on the back nine of his career. He's got a year or two left.
Yeah, and I think you make a good point is like, I think we all thought they had developed enough weapons. Hollywood Brown, Worthy, Rashee Rice after a suspension. Kelce to kind of spin off, on the tight end spot. In the backfield, you got Kareem Hunt, Pacheco. But when you really look at it, this team is very bland. Like, it's just not good enough. I mean, if you got Patrick Mahomes, a generational quarterback, and I do not believe he's slowing down, he's going to get shit on. He's going to get that tag, at least at this point, that he is on the downside, which is, I think, completely wrong and short-sighted by many in the NFL that look at a week-to-week narrative and bring it up and talk about it to death. But I think you need to provide him with a superstar receiver. Stuff like, I know they got a lot of fast, skinny guys, but they can't make it through the season without getting banged up. I mean, I don't like necessarily the situation in Philadelphia, but how well would Patrick Mahomes be with an A.J. Brown? Like, would that be a difference maker to you? Do you think if they had an A.J. Brown type, like, top guy out there to throw the ball to, do you think that would be a difference maker for him?
Yeah, I think if you give Mahomes a top 5 wide receiver, that immediately makes Kansas City the best team in football. I have I have such faith in Mahomes. I think he's the best player in football. This just isn't their year this year. If they come back next year and they're very successful, I won't be surprised at all. But they've had some bad luck, and no doubt, if you put A.J. Brown on that team, I'm making them my Super Bowl favorite. Would you agree?
Well, if we were heading into next year with an A.J. Brown,
I'm not considering the record. You know what I mean? Like, with the record, it's like even if they win every game going forward, they still may not make the playoffs, right? So I'm more thinking just like actually best compared to getting the playoffs record going for the Super Bowl.
I would agree. I would still put them near the top. There's just no question on that. But right now, you're going to hear the narrative that this Chiefs team is done. I think that's short-sighted. So if you have a futures play down the road for 2026-27, I would suggest keep it in mind that the Kansas City Chiefs might be a play and might be value because of this down season. Like, the odds are they're not going to make the playoffs. Major things have happened, of course. It's I guess if the Kansas City Chiefs somehow make the playoffs, it's not going to silence the narrative that it's rigged for the Kansas City Chiefs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so many people say that.
Yeah, they say it's rigged for Mahomes, but we'll see how it plays out. What other stories, Austin? I know that fantasy football has played out in a big way that most, not all, regular seasons came to an end last week, and now we're in the playoff hunt. Some on buys. This guy right here, I'm going to buy. How did your final weekend of regular fantasy football season go?
Honestly, not great. There was a $100 league where I could have won that week and been into the playoffs. Sadly, didn't get that done. I'll let you guys know my performance on the overall year. So in 8 fantasy football leagues, I was in 8 leagues, and I finished with an all-time worst where only 2 of my teams actually made it into fantasy playoffs.
Oh my God, that's horrible. That's horrible.
So remember, guys, who you're listening to advice to, because also this year was definitely easily my worst year. I came in last place in 2 of my leagues as well. I'm washed up, man.
You know what's funny?
This is why you're carrying the show.
Do you feel like you got to quit your job now to focus solely on fantasy football? Is that the idea for next year?
I think that's the only option.
Yeah, that's a smart, rational thing to do.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a raise for this podcast so I can focus.
Yeah, that's I'll double your salary what you're making now.
Yeah.
So we're in the 416, which is our fantasy football. I stole the 2nd seed, so I get the bye, which you were expecting to have, and unbelievably, your opponent this week had to use Tyrod Taylor because their quarterback was on a bye and they were scrambling for a quarterback to use. Tyrod Taylor goes out early with I think it was a concussion or whatever injury. So he was like -1 or something like that.
-7.6, yeah.
He was -7.6. You lost to a team their quarterback was in the negative numbers.
Okay, but
how disgusting is that?
We got to mention that she had Brandon Aubrey, who had 23 points.
You basically a kicker had quarterback like numbers. That's insane. God. He had 3+. I know he had 4 field goals against Detroit on that Thursday night, 3 of which were 55 or plus. That guy's hitting them like no tomorrow, man. That guy is on fire. And what else? You had
I do want to mention, last week of the season, I had a lot of players on bye. Christian McCaffrey, debatably my best player, second best player after Nakua. He was gone. So that's a big one. McMillan and Stephon Diggs, who are 2 of my, I wouldn't say they're my best receivers, but they're key guys. I play matchup based week to week. And then on top of that, she had JSN, best player in fantasy football. And Tony Pollard going off for 28 points. So
you know what? Because of Tennessee Titans, Tony Pollard, when he left the Cowboys, you almost forgot about him.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, 2 years later, week 14, end of regular season fantasy football, he becomes he terrorizes you.
Yeah. I saw this coming with Tony Pollard. I bought low for him in one league just because I was trying to stay out of last place in that league. And I was like, you know what? Maybe he blows up 1 or 2 weeks down the stretch. I'm not trusting him for consistency, but, he's going to be their goal line guy. If they get 2 touchdowns in a game, odds are he scores 1 of them. But yeah, that was a hard loss. But you know what? I just got to do it the old-fashioned way, win all the way through, and we'll be fine. Hopefully I'll see you again in playoffs, or see you in playoffs.
Any tips for for example, I'm on a bye week in the 416. Is there anything that you would suggest I should be doing with my lineup? Should I still be checking the waiver wire? Should I what are the unwritten rules? What are the best strategies? What are the do nots? What would you suggest how playoff etiquette and strategy goes in fantasy football?
So one big thing I think you should pay attention to, come come end of the week, if somebody has like a day-to-day player, they may be like, all right, it doesn't matter if this guy's on my team. I gotta win now. So you gotta pay attention to the drops. There could be key players dropped for value that maybe they have a 50% chance of playing next week, but that guy could be, a key player on your team. So you want to pay attention to that. I want to say most of it is sitting back and relaxing, but, you want to make sure you have your depth. If you need more depth, obviously pay attention to waivers. I want to assume you should pretty much have, your team ready to go for playoffs and you're not still like picking through the waivers, but you may be there. I can see right now, actually, I heard a friend picking up Isaiah Likely because they didn't have a tight end. I think that's a great option right now. But I wouldn't say there's too much more to do. there.
The NFL is like tricky in fantasy football to this point of the season. There's so many injuries, significant. I feel that any decent running back who's going to touch a ball on a Sunday or a wide receiver who's going to get a reception or at least a target is almost gone. And like you said, you probably got to take a risk that you're ahead of the game on information of somebody coming back that the rest of your fantasy football league is unaware of. But it's thin pickings right now, and very important to I find, looking at the whole season on the waiver wire to maybe make a pickup that may not necessarily help you in that direct week you're working on, but to build up the depth. For example, if you had, let's say, Rashid Rice early, or if he was available and you knew he was suspended, you might put him in the shelf for a while to have him later. Or, Joe Burrow, like let's say you have a quarterback and you have flexibility on your roster. If you're crammed, you're not going to take on another quarterback who's not playing. But if you have the ability to put Joe Burrow for anybody who dumped him early because of that significant injury, you might have the opportunity to put him on the back shelf because he'd be definitely valuable in the last couple of weeks if when quarterbacks are running thin.
Yeah.
So, all right. What else here? I'm just thinking any other topics. We're going to, for the listeners out there, I know you might want to just get to the football plays and football picks. We're going to post the timeline so that you can pick the when to start. So I think that's pretty effective. So you can go and move past all this BSing going on between me and Austin from Ajax. The last thing I'll talk about is something came up. I think Bill Simmons named the Columbus Blue Jackets the most insignificant team in sports, which for the NHL, I look at the Columbus Blue Jackets as, probably if they were gone, you wouldn't miss them type of situation. But it got me thinking about other sports, and I thought I'd just bend your ear on this. If I said basketball, NBA, what team or teams would you put in that category as so insignificant if they were gone, you wouldn't even notice as a franchise?
In basketball.
NBA, yeah.
I don't know, maybe like the Jazz. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I
wasn't necessarily ready. I'm trying to think I feel like me personally, I can appreciate like following like every team, the more teams the merrier. But insignificant. I feel like I'd have more success naming teams in football, honestly, but the Jazz is one that comes to mind.
So you're not old enough to remember when the Jazz had Karl Malone and John Stockton. They faced Michael Jordan in the final. So I don't put the Jazz in that category because I remember them having a significant part to play in the NBA. I look at teams like the Washington Wizards. Like if the Washington Wizards folded tomorrow, would you really remember that? Oh yeah.
But then I think of like the John Wall days. I'll think of the John Wall days where it's like, at least they were an entertaining team. Maybe they were never significant, but they had their decent storylines. You know what I mean? If I'm being honest, if I'm thinking insignificant teams, baseball's coming to the top of my mind right now. I'm looking at Miami Marlins, who, they're selling their tickets for $4 each, and they got less than 10,000 fans coming to each game. Like I was actually Googling, I'm sorry, this is a little story, but I was Googling how unbelievable it is. Because obviously, the Jays, they've raised their prices because, more popularity with this recent postseason run. But Miami Marlins actually has a deal where you can take 4 people out to the game, get 4 hot dogs, 4 soft drinks for $44. 4 tickets, 4 hot dogs, 4 drinks for $44. And they're still not selling out. They're still not even cracking 10,000 people. So I think the teams that don't have the fans coming out to support them, I think that's the insignificance. So I would really like to go and look up the Blue Jackets, attendance. But I got to assume that whoever said that was probably, I don't want to say taking a shot at hockey, but obviously hockey's one of the lesser watched sports compared to these other big ones, right? So maybe that's why they were labeled that. But
that's fair.
On the scale of hockey compared to baseball, I don't think it's fair. I don't think that's fair.
Got it. I also look at, so you got the Washington Wizards in my mind. When you say Marlins, I see where you're going from that. I agree. It's pathetic. And I can't help not remember, they won 2 World Series. Like they've done it. But they've only had a real short window of making runs, and the rest of it's been, as soon as they moved to the new stadium, it's just been nothing. Like, you're right. They're like, if I had to buy a Miami Marlins jersey, I can't tell you who I'm going to put on the back of it.
Yeah.
Right? It's just not. And then you look at NFL. Like, to me, the Tennessee Titans are the team that are the most insignificant in my mind. I don't know if another team stands out to you in the NFL.
As a just a bottom tier team.
Well, insignificant. We talk about like if they left tomorrow, you wouldn't really think about them.
I mean, like I said, I started watching in 2015. I want to say truthfully, even though, this year you might be able to watch them because they're a defense, but the Cleveland Browns have definitely been an all-time horrible franchise, just very insignificant as well. I don't know if you agree with the Cleveland Browns being one of the worst.
Well, that's
but I also, the thing is too, I don't like necessarily jumping into saying this because you're bringing up these olden days where even the Miami Marlins have won championships. I don't know the history, so I don't think it's fair for me to go and say like, oh, this is an insignificant franchise. Maybe 20 years ago they were significant. The Chicago Cubs didn't win a World Series in 108 years, and 108 years later they became significant.
Well, I think our definitions are different because even before the Cubs won the World Series, if they came to Toronto, that would stand out to me that the Cubs are there, right? Whether just like the Yankees, good, bad, or whatever, you got to watch the Yankees. The Cowboys. Like the Cowboys are not necessarily, they're kind of like mediocre at the moment, but if the Cowboys, okay, if you were going down to Buffalo to watch a game and you had the choice to watch Bills and Titans, Bills and Cowboys, which one would you gravitate to? Who cares about the record?
Well, for me, man. Bills.
Cowboys.
For me, Bills.
Huh?
For me, Bills. Even though I'm wearing the Dallas jersey.
If you're talking, sorry. I'm talking about if you went to Buffalo to watch the Bills play the Titans or the Bills play the Cowboys, which game would you choose?
Cowboys.
Right. I mean, you're wearing a Cowboys jersey. I see is that a Dez Bryant jersey?
Yes, the Dez Bryant jersey.
What's the story behind that?
So the story behind this is my first year in fantasy football. He was kind of like my key, like my first round draft pick. And then, I made it into the playoffs with the last seed. Christmas Day happens. You actually buy me this jersey.
Oh, okay.
And then the following week or the same week, I believe, Dez Bryant not only scores a touchdown, but throws for a touchdown to win me my first ever championship in the first ever fantasy football league I was in, 16-man league. So I always have the significance of like Dez Bryant was the guy for me. Maybe, for the Cowboys, they didn't really make the playoffs. They didn't really do much. But for me, he won me my championship. So I always have appreciation for Dez Bryant.
And wasn't that the 416?
That's the 416. Two-time, baby.
So two-time 416 champ. So I brought you in. Your first foray into fantasy football, and now years later, you're talking about 8 fantasy leagues that you had to worry about.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and I was against joining too. I remember you kind of convinced me. You're like, "Come on, man, I need one extra guy. Just fucking do it. Just fucking do it." And I'm like, "All right, fine, I'll do it." And I remember. Honestly, I will say those first couple of years were probably the most fun I've ever had in fantasy football, despite being in one league, which is just crazy.
Yeah, because now you're running leagues. Now it's a lot of business and money collecting and all that stuff. It's not as fun.
A lot of work. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to what the audience wants, why they've tuned in, and why they tune in week over week. And that is to hear us go through our expert analysis of week 15 of the NFL card, betting-wise. We're going to talk about spreads and over-unders. And again, I apologize. I don't necessarily have player props. I didn't have a chance to kind of analyze the lines and bring them to the table here today. But what I will say is week 14 results. You really want to hear them?
God, I know this is going to be bad.
So from a spread perspective, 13 games last week that we went through, I was 10 for 13. So the genius over here, you were 5 for 13. Absolutely disgusting.
10 for 13, good for you. That's amazing.
You were as good as a Cleveland Brown 2-point conversion attempt right there. Awful. And then over-under, we did a lot better. I did have a little bit better of a record. I was 10 for 13 again on over-unders, while you were 9 for 13. So I believe the over-under analysis, probably something the listeners want to listen to even more than necessarily the spread. So I think we have a little bit more success there. But I want to shout out, we talked about one of the plays or call-outs you made in the Miami game. What was it again? Miami.
You know what? I messed up. I think I had Breece Hall to score a touchdown. And then I did mention Waddle or A-Chain was like a good mention because I went back and watched. So my two honorable mentions hit, but my actual bet that I told you guys to pick did not come through with Breece Hall.
You're on Breece Hall, and the Waddle was a value play, a plus 180.
Yeah,
Got it.
And I did mention A-Chain also had good value, but I think at plus 100, I said don't lock that down as
Yeah,
even
but I mean, even the Waddle
recommend.
value play that hit early, and that was
Yeah,
like a plus 180. So that was so we'll give you a little bit of a
I,
pass.
I'll still take it as a loss, but I mean, uh, hopefully you
Yeah,
took
take it as a loss.
both. If you took both, you still are up, but fingers
Now,
crossed.
speaking of the Jets, that's the first game on the card here. The New York Jets, the New York Football Jets, the disaster of a franchise going on the pathway to insignificance, are 13.5-point underdogs into Jacksonville. The Jacksonville Jaguars are surging. They are the division leading Jacksonville Jaguars. Can you believe we're saying that? If we looked at a month ago and we were talking about Jacksonville, we basically focused on their inconsistency,
Mm-hmm.
lack of coming through in a big game situation, but now they lead the pack in the AFC South. What are your thoughts here? This again, so let me go over it again. 13.5,
Yeah.
41.5 over under. Brady Cook for the New York Jets is going to start. Undrafted quarterback Brady Cook is going to be
Wow.
taking the ball and running with it for the Jets.
Mm-hmm. So I want to say Jacksonville being this good honestly doesn't surprise me. They've always been a team to me that's like underperforming their expectations. So I always kind of believed that they had this in them, but I never necessarily knew if I was going to see it or not. So it's not like I would have told you this was going to happen. I would have probably told you, hey, they're probably going to shit the bed. They're probably going to disappoint you. But the fact that they're here now, it's like, all right, yeah, this is where they're supposed to be. I'm not necessarily surprised. I've always thought a lot of this came down upon Trevor Lawrence himself, honestly. The personnel around him, I don't want to say has been elite, but I want to say has always been above average. So I'm happy to see this. And, Jacksonville's always had a solid defense. That being said, obviously a lot of uncertainty with this quarterback. If I was creating this line, I'd probably make Jacksonville as a 10-point favorite. And that's still a lot, don't get me wrong. But I don't think the Jets have a useless defense, even though they traded away key players. So I'm going to take New York Jets plus 13.5 this week, and I'm going to take the over 41.5.
Okay, I'll put you down for that. I'm going to take Jacksonville, and part of it, I'm going to take the over as well. But do I fully yet trust Jacksonville? Probably not. I'm creeping towards that maybe they really got something real here. Maybe they're a real threat to win a playoff game potentially. There's a chance. Anything's open in the AFC at the moment. NFC seems to have more heavyweights than the wide open AFC. I just can't at any point any further rely on the New York Jets in any way possible. It's a car wreck. It's a mess. Their offense sucked with veterans Justin Field and Tyrod Taylor. Now you have an undrafted Brady Cook. I guess you can't get any worse, but it's just so bad in New York that I got to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I can't back the horse like the Jets to
Fair
even
enough.
come close. So I'm going to live with that. We're not going to spend too much time in that game, but we move on to another game which is interesting because it impacts the Jacksonville Jaguars, and that's the Houston Texans that are probably the next threat now in that division, are hosting the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals, they're in a loss season. They just don't have anything going right. They lose every close game that they possibly can be in. Jacoby Brissett has a nice little bright spot. He'll have that's a guy that's always going to have work in the NFL. He's going to bounce around from team to team to team. He's going to either be in a transition team that's going to a rookie quarterback, or he's going to be a backup and come in for a team that has a significant injury. But Jacoby Brissett's going to have employment in the NFL for the next few seasons, absolutely for sure. It's based on his performance this year for sure. The Texans, like I said, are 9.5-point favorites. 42.5. Marvin Harrison Jr. is out again for the Cardinals. Houston coming off a big, actually, statement win in Kansas City. What do you think here?
I agree with what you're saying with Brissett. I pretty much look at him as one of the top backup quarterbacks. I wouldn't definitely call him a good quarterback. But he surprises you time to time. And I think this Cardinals team could keep it by losing by 7, losing by touchdown. So I'll take the points with them at 9.5, and
God.
I'm going with the points this week.
Jeez.
And I'll also, what, I'm pretty confident in this over. My favorite bet so far in this slate of all the games we've been through, the 2 games we've been through. So give me the over 42.5 and give me Cardinals plus 9.5.
Wow, man. I look at this game completely opposite the way you do. The Houston Texans defense is arguably the best defense in the NFL. They're ugly, and I mean that in a compliment way, that you do not want to throw a receiver a bad pass over the middle. They'll knock your lights out. They'll destroy you. So I'm going to take the Houston Texans to cover. I think we've seen where when Arizona and Jacoby Brissett came off a big win against Dallas, but they walked into Seattle the following week and they got torched. And the Seattle D just took over. And I think you'll see something similar here where the Houston D is not going to let them off the ground. The Houston D is such a punishing, no bullshit kind of defense. I don't think they're going to give Arizona a chance at all.
Mm-hmm.
So give me the points. Give me the points. Give me I'll go with Houston. I like the under. I think this is going to be a bit of more of a scrappy, settle for field goals. Fairbairn is going to be the guy that's going to be there. And also want to add in Houston, a shout out to Jorge De La Rosa, the Working Dog Saloons Survivor champion this year.
Wow.
Yes.
He got it.
So we're talking about a man that, I asked, hey, do you want to join the Working Dog? Yeah, okay, sure. And as we journeyed through this week to week, as I got knocked off, a few others got knocked off, Jorge's hanging around. He's getting the wins, and then you can see him gravitate to doing a little more research. He's really looking at it really more in depth. And then by the last few weeks, when it was down to 3, including him, he was charting out what possible decisions these other players could make, heading to the Working Dog, checking out what his opposition is taking. He really put the work in, and then finally landed on the Houston Texans. He landed on the Denver Broncos against Vegas last week, which was a cakewalk. Good pathway to keep the Denver Broncos hanging around this long. While his other 2 opponents had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who lost against the Saints. And then the evening game, he had the other guy had the Kansas City Chiefs. So as soon as the Texans, which we're talking about, won that game, Jorge De La Rosa was the 2025 Working Dog Survivor champion. And I think he picks up his money today, but shout out, congratulations.
That is actually awesome. Nicer guy couldn't have won it. Congratulations, George.
Great Survivor story, to say the least. All right. So we move on. Buffalo. This is a huge game. This is a big game.
Huge game.
This is a huge game.
Game of the week.
No.
Well, here's the thing. I haven't looked at necessarily other games. Or at least I can't. I probably looked at them, but I can't retain a game that would stand out more than this to me. This would be my game of the week.
Okay, we're going to talk about Green Bay and Denver later.
I like this one.
We're also going to talk about Detroit, and I think they got a Rams. Detroit and LA, the Rams.
Well, I guess there's a reason why I want to.
Okay, fine.
I mean, I'll have some stuff to say about Buffalo. So
the Buffalo Bills currently hold down the second wild card position at 9-4, while the New England Patriots, leaders of the AFC East at 11-2, host the Buffalo Bills, and the Buffalo Bills are actually a 1.5 favorite heading into New England. So the Patriots really don't have respect right now. I think everybody loves what Mike Vrabel's done. They love the fact that Drake May is developing as a quarterback. He's the golden child right now in New England. A lot of things going well. But do people really believe in the Patriots? Well, I don't think so. I'm not saying I don't or do, but I think the betting public still believes that they're over their heads a little bit, and especially coming into this game, saying that the Bills, coming off a big win against the Cincinnati Bengals, are favorites on the road against a team they lost to weeks earlier. And so 1.5, Bills are favorite. This game has an over-under of, over-under 49.5. So there's expected to be a lot of points. Where do you see this going?
So I just want to say, I've had this weird feeling about the Buffalo Bills. Obviously they're in the second wildcard spot. They're not blowing teams away or anything right now. But I actually think I like the Buffalo Bills as my Super Bowl pick for the year. If not, okay. I wouldn't lock in the Super Bowl, but I lock in getting to the Super Bowl. I've looked at the league and it's there's not a lot of shoe-in teams here, but then you got Josh Allen and it's hey, Mahomes is out of the battle, man. You are the best quarterback in football left. I know they don't have the greatest weapons, but I didn't come with any come with any prop picks this week or player props. But I like going. So I'll give you guys my normal pick. I'm gonna take the Bills -1.5. I'm gonna take the over 49.5. Overs only, baby. But then I'm actually gonna do a separate bet where I think the Buffalo Bills win by more points. So
Sorry,
I'm
they
gonna have to
what?
look at. So I'm trying to
Are you
look right
talking
now.
about an
Yeah,
alternative spread?
I
Got it.
want the
Got it.
Bills like -5.5 opposed to like -1.
Wow.
I don't want to get too crazy into it, but I think they could win by double digits. So I like that
Holy
alternate
crap,
line.
man. So you really
Yeah.
believe this line is way off?
Yeah, I believe this line is off.
So you
I
you think this is
even
like a
though I'm not.
gift?
The thing is, the Patriots do deserve respect. I think they're better than most teams. I just think that Josh Allen is the best player in this football team, and I think he like this could be a like I don't know. He needs this showing against the team they're basically chasing here, and I think they're going to get it. So you know what? I
Okay.
can't find the exact. I'll let you speak on what you think's going to happen in this game, and then I'll come with the line on the alternate spread. I'm just going to search.
Well, do I necessarily believe it's going to be Bills all day? I don't know, but I do think that a point and a half there is good value to take a team that has the best player and the guy who's going to have the ball in his hands to determine the outcome of the game more than anybody else, and that's Josh Allen. To your point, I think that if they're going to take a run at this division, has to be Sunday, because they lose. It's the Patriots wrap this division up because they'll be 3 games ahead of the Bills and also 2 wins against the Bills. And it's like, shut the door. I know the Bills have to chase and hold on to a wild card spot. I think the opportunity is here for Josh Allen to have a game, knowing that you have to have in the back of your head that if I'm a Buffalo Bills fan and I'm Josh Allen, that, those Chiefs are not going to be there in the playoffs. I don't have to go to Arrowhead, or Patrick Mahomes doesn't have to come to our turf and we have to go through them, because that didn't work out multiple times that we tried. The window, there was earlier talk when the Bills lost, I can't remember, was it against Houston, that the window is closing, right? The Josh Allen, Sean McDermott era is coming to an end. But do you really believe that? If they get a big win on Sunday, you don't believe in the wide open AFC that they can't run the table and get to the Super Bowl? So I like what you're saying. I think it's believable. Would I be shocked if New England somehow gets a victory here? No. I think you believe it's going to be more of a smashing than maybe I do. But I do believe that Bills get the job done. Josh Allen regains like that respect of that MVP type of form. And he comes through in New England, disappointing the fans. The Patriots fans are trying to go back to the Brady era, and the Bills get the job done. And I'll go with the over as well. I think there'll be some points scored here. So I think we're on the same page. So go ahead.
And I just want to mention the Bills. This is going to be a lock pick for me.
Lock.
Yeah. So
I'm
I want
gonna
to
put a
add
little
it.
symbol, lock.
Yeah. And I looked at the spread and it's +200. So if the lock is the Bills -5.5 as the alternate spread total, and it's 3-1 at +200. So I really like that bet.
Did you put a bet on it yet?
Not yet, but I'll probably throw like 20 on it or something like that.
You heard that Josh Allen's out, right?
Yeah,
No,
I
I'm just
hope
kidding.
not. Oh,
All right. Yeah.
all right.
All right. Another interesting matchup here. We have the LA Chargers head into Arrowhead to take on the Chiefs. This is a great card this week, honestly. There's a lot of significant games. And when we get to it, there's 5 games in the 4 o'clock window. That's, we're usually stuck with like 2 or 3. So we really love this week. The LA Chargers, coming off a big win on Monday night against the Philadelphia Eagles, are 5.5-point dogs heading into Kansas City to take on the team we talked about, the reeling, probably not making the playoff, Kansas City Chiefs. But the Chiefs, backs are really against the wall here, and they're 5.5-point underdogs, favorites, with a 41.5 over-under. And please note that the KC Chiefs are missing 3 starting offensive linemen. That's not going to help. So where you see this going, the Chargers give up 7 sacks, but Justin Herbert keeps going. But will he break down at some point? He's got to get a broken hand.
I know I sound like a broken record here.
You sound like a broken hand. Yes.
But I gotta keep rolling with the Kansas City Chiefs. It's just, for me, it's one of those teams that's way too hard to bet against. I think they're out of the playoffs no matter what happens now, even if they win all the rest of the way. But with no pressure now, and even with these injuries, I'm going to put my faith in Mahomes straight up. I can't bet against Mahomes. If you did that any other year but this year, you'd be.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take Kansas City -5.5, and that under over really looks low. I'm going to take over 41.5. No unders here, baby.
Well, can you remind me what the Chiefs' record is?
6-7.
There you go. So when you look at the wild card standings here, week 15 of an NFL season, I'm looking at the fifth, like the teams out of the, on the edge of the playoffs and significantly out are the Baltimore Ravens at 6-7 and the Kansas City Chiefs at 6-7. I can't believe we have these two powerhouses, dominant teams in the AFC, 2 games out of a playoff spot. Now the Ravens obviously have more of a opportunity because they're only 1 game in the division behind the Steelers, and I believe they still got the Steelers to go again. So the Ravens are not in panic mode, but the Kansas City Chiefs are 2 games. Well, look at this. Okay, let's look at this for sure here, right? Okay, so you have, you've played 13 games, right? 4 games to go. They have to leapfrog the Ravens, the Colts, and the Colts are real, and we'll get to them later because they have a significant, weird decisions at quarterback that we'll talk through. The Texans, which I think are lights out with D, but they're not. I'm not betting the mortgage on them. They may fade. So there's a chance. So if I'm the Kansas City Chiefs, I just win. That's all I got to do. And I think they do cover the spread here. I think the Chargers have limped through to get these big wins. Philadelphia, to me, was more inept in their offense. We're going to get to them, but their offense is piss poor. I don't get it. But let's go with the Chiefs on this one. I'm going to put the K. Go ahead.
Sorry,
I'll take the over.
I'm not going to take it, but I think this week's a good bet for Kelsey to get a touchdown. But I'm not going to take it. I'm not even going to look at that. That's just an honorable mention.
You're just putting it out there for the audience.
Yeah. Every week I come with a couple of those, or at least one. So that'll be my touchdown bet for the week. If you got a boosted touchdown bet.
Okay. All right. So if I look at the next game, we have an interesting matchup. Well, and I say interesting, not really, because it should be one-way action, and that is Kenny Pickett quarterbacking for the Las Vegas Raiders as Geno Smith is out. And they head into Philadelphia to take on the 2 game in a row losing, or I think 3, whatever. They're in a bad run, the Eagles.
It's 3, I think.
Okay, so 3 games, 3 losses. Disgusting.
Terrible
for the Super Bowl
losses.
Champions. 11.5 point favorites are the Eagles at home. Normally, I would say that's too much for a team that's looked like they have, but we're talking about the Raiders. The Raiders are absolute garbage. They keep firing coordinators and coaches when the real problem is just you might as well fold the franchise, man, because Pete Carroll is done. I don't see in any world where the Raiders bring back Pete Carroll to coach his team next year, and they got to revamp everything. They held on to Max Crosby. Could have been a nice trade chip here, but they didn't, and now they are stuck with all these veterans. They could have unloaded for next year's draft, but decided not to do that. Eagles, man, I don't know if you watch this team. I don't know do you watch them? Have you watched them last 4 or 5 games?
I've watched them. I'm pretty sure it was Dallas that made the 3 touchdown comeback, which was just absolutely brutal. I watched that game. I was following this game. I didn't necessarily watch the whole thing, but I've been on top of the Eagles. The Eagles are the reigning Super Bowl champs. They're definitely one of those teams that I'm always checking the score for sure.
Right, but the fact that this team is just absolutely, I've heard the word pedestrian, on offense. It looks bad. It looks very, very bad that this team just won a Super Bowl. They have all these weapons, and it just doesn't look like they have an offense that's been together for multiple years, which it has. So I don't know what is wrong. I don't know if there's something wrong with Jalen Hurts. I had faith in Jalen Hurts. I mean, some idiot asked, if it's time to Sirianni to remove Jalen Hurts as quarterback. You got to be
That's
an
crazy.
idiot. I can't
Yeah.
believe somebody even uttered those words in a press conference. Who has a press credential that would actually state that? Yeah, the
Yeah.
guy's struggling. He's a Super Bowl MVP. You're not
That's
going to get a
crazy.
better option with Gardner Minshew. I don't know if Gardner Minshew's the guy backing up, but I can't remember where he went. Anyway,
Solid backup though.
yeah, I don't even know
Yeah.
if he's the backup. I know he's somewhere. He was through. I can't remember. I think he's in Philly, but
He's been all over.
yeah,
Jacksonville Raiders. I think he's been all over the place.
yeah, but what I'm saying is that there is no option other than Jalen Hurts, and for somebody to utter that, it's ridiculous. So what do you see here? Do you see the Eagles covering this big spread at home?
I do. I do see the Eagles covering this spread. You know, we've talked about Vegas being potentially the worst team in football. You know, they do have some key weapons, but I don't think that's enough to get it done against the reigning champs. They need the win like blood. Obviously, they're going to win. The spread's more of a question, but I'm going to take them at 11.5. And give me the over 38.5. That's pretty easy too. Overs
Okay,
only,
so
baby.
I think we're on the same page. Overs only, baby. There you go. Gino out. Kenny Pickett in. Kenny, like he came in, and I'll tell you that's a topic we didn't talk about. But a lot of gamblers were really pissed off that the Raiders hit that last-second field goal down 10 against the Broncos because the spread was 7.5, sorry, for most people who took that line. So it moved it to 7, screwing big bad beat for a lot of bettors out there. So you heard a lot of noise online. I thought it was the right play. There was nothing else they could do with 3 seconds on the clock. And it worked out for me because I needed the point to get an over, an in-game over there. So I'm okay with it. All right. We move on to the Baltimore Ravens heading into Cincinnati and taking on the Bengals. The Ravens are 2.5-point favorites. The 51.5 is the over-under. The story is that the Ravens just don't look like the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson, it does not look like what we know is Lamar Jackson. And the Cincinnati Bengals basically probably crippled their hopes last week, losing and choking a lead in Buffalo. But I got to believe they're still going to come out gunning, and they'll still continue to always be that mathematical hopes alive to get into the playoffs. And what could have been if Joe Burrow didn't get injured again for the Bengals? T. Higgins is out. He had a concussion in his previous game. He will not be in there, and that's a significant weapon lost. What's wrong with the Ravens? What do you think is wrong with them?
I mean, they're not sexy this year. You know, I mean, they have, since Lamar's gone back, I know the games haven't been the greatest, but I'm pretty sure they have a winning record since he's been back, right? Have they lost 1 or 2 since he's returned? 2 games?
2. I think it was 2. I think they lost a game against.
What are they, 2-2 or 3-2 since he's gone back? You know, I'm hoping that for the Baltimore Ravens, it's just them needing to get.
Remember, they lost on Thanksgiving against. They got 2 losses in a row against Cincinnati, so they limped along. So when they beat the Dolphins, that's when Lamar came back in week 9. They rolled through the Vikings. They didn't roll. They limped along and got the wins at Minnesota, at Cleveland, at home against the Jets. They only won 23-10 against the Jets. It's not like they dominated. The Jets were still in that game for a while. They lost at home against Joe Burrow, who returned to beat them, and then lost against the Steelers at home. So 2 at-home losses. Now they go on the road against the team they lost to 2 weeks ago.
I'll make my pick for this game. I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but I want to believe that they finish it strong. I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens 2.5, but I'm going to actually take the under 51.5. You know what? No.
You just said over.
No, you know what? Overs only. No. I remembered that for a second.
Jeez.
It's a high over, but you know what? Joe Burrow's going to score, and I also think that Derrick Henry has a monster week. You know, he hasn't had the greatest year. But, you know, the Bengals struggle on defense. That's their biggest weakness. And other than their O-line. But I think they get it done here. And I think they crush Cincinnati by 10 points. So.
Okay. Well,
give me Baltimore here.
I don't see how a franchise can't improve on their D over the last couple of years. It's just absolutely horrid. Like the Cincinnati Bengals D, that's another story. But I want to go back to the Ravens. And you look at a must-win game. They need this game to stay in the hunt for the division because after the Bengals, they will be playing, get this, they go and host the Patriots, which is not an easy one. They go to Green Bay the following week. on a Saturday, short week, and Steelers to end the season off.
Steelers at home or
on the road.
Oh my God.
But to even get to that game in week 17 to make it mean something, they got a tough road ahead, and they don't play the Bengals too well, right? The Bengals show up. So I think the Bengals, let's think of the story, because many people think that the NFL season is already pre-written, okay? And let's go with that theme. Let's go with that conspiracy. It makes sense that the Bengals get the job done. I think it's a close game, so I'll follow you as you're about to fall asleep. It looks like you about to fall asleep over there?
No, I'm
yawning
good.
And like rubbing your eyes. Like, God, I thought my voice is very energetic.
I ran out of coffee. What do you want?
Oh, okay, sorry. So I think the Ravens get it done. They don't make it look easy. I'm gonna say it goes over too. So let's go with the overs. Only overs, unless I change my mind. The Ravens get it done. They scrap through, and I think the Ravens will make at least a bit interesting in this division by week 17. All right, we head on to a game that we're not going to spend too much time on. The Washington Commanders head into New York, divisional matchup to take on the Giants. Jackson Dart is 2.5-point favorite. This all I'll say is, like, to be honest with the Commanders, we thought that line last week when they walked into Washington was wrong. I think we both lean towards the Washington Commanders, and we significantly lean towards the Commanders, and they got hosed. They got screwed. Not screwed. They got smashed. They got shut out. And we talked about the footage of Zach Ertz getting his ACL knocked out on that one hit, and the audio, if you haven't seen it, guys, on Instagram, Zach Ertz, tight end for the Commanders, who suffered a season-ending ACL injury where his knee got basically blasted and bent back. He was mic'd up, and as soon as he gets a hit, he knows he's in trouble. He remains calm, actually, pretty calm. Yeah, my knee's good. I can't get up. And then when he gets on the cart, you hear him getting emotional. He's crying. And I got to imagine what's going through his mind here is not only is his season done, but there's a risk here that his career's over, right? With an injury like that and the way it happened. So I don't know what you remind yourself, these guys are fantasy football players, yes, in our minds, but they're human beings. And I'm more on the side when it comes to contracts, and if they feel they can hold out and get guaranteed money or renegotiate their contract, I'm not going to say anything. That's their job to try to maximize the payout. So I don't know what you thought about that Zach Ertz injury when you've seen the footage.
Man, I heard a good quote once that NFL players are considered like modern day gladiators. These guys actually are putting their lives on the line. They're, maybe not their lives in the sense of, they're going to die on the field, but they're taking hits to the head. They're losing 10, 20 years of their life. This is a brutal sport, and this stuff's going to happen, and it's awful.
Yeah, it's just not just life-changing injuries that could happen like that. I mean, the only thing I could say is in 2025, at least there are procedures now that can pretty much take care of an ACL injury. I don't know. I'm not going to be the guy with the knife fixing up Zach Ertz, but if this had been 20 years ago, it would have been a significant injury that would probably be lingering to his after playing career as well. All right, so Commanders, we're not going to say too much. Jaden Daniels is out. Marcus Mariota is back in to start for the Commanders. What do you say here? We'll go quickly through this one.
Okay, I will say New York -2.5, and give me the
46.5
under.
is the over-under.
Give me the under. Yep.
I'll match that because I don't see any reason why we're going to see a lot of points here, and any reason why the Giants lose this. They seem to be a little more active. And this is like the story of Dan Quinn, coach of the Commanders, right? He was on fire when he took over the Atlanta Falcons. They went to a Super Bowl, and then they choked away to the Patriots. And then he kind of faded out where the Falcons kind of went on the decline after that rise. And it sure seems like the Commanders, after getting to the NFC Championship with Jaden Daniels, that nothing has gone right for the Commanders this year. Yes, I understand that Jaden Daniels has missed significant time due to injury. And did you question that, man, he's kind of a skinny guy. Like, is he going to be injury prone going forward? It's not his fault, but that's just the reality when you're projecting going forward as a franchise. Obviously, Jaden Daniels is healthy. Like, you want to ride that train. But even the Commanders, with or without Jaden Daniels, to get shut out by the Vikings, right?
That's crazy.
That's disgusting. That tells you that stuff is not going well in Washington. Anyway, Cleveland, Chicago, interesting matchup. Shedeur Sanders had a huge a huge game against the Titans in a loss. I think he threw for 4 touchdowns or something like that, 300 plus yards, and lost. Are 7.5-point dogs in Chicago, who lost against Green Bay. I don't know if you've seen how that Green Bay Chicago game ended. The Bears were impressive.
I watched that one.
They were impressive the way they were running the ball, the play calling, but there's still questions to me about Caleb Williams. That play at the end, I think he struggles to think quick on his feet. Each quarterback has multiple, here's my main target, here's my check down. I don't know if he processes information as fast as a superstar quarterback needs to, because I don't understand why he chose that option to float that up in the end zone, underthrowing it. There's some question marks to me about his decision making. He rolls out, many times, throws darts, bullets, and then he misses easy throws. But despite that, the Bears have had a great season. Ben Johnson's absolutely the head coach that they need to move this offense, and just tremendous progress. But they are 7.5-point favorites over the Cleveland Browns. What do you think is happening in this game? This over-under is 38.5. Weather's probably going to be an issue here in Chicago. Mm-hmm. Give me your take on this.
I think I'm going to roll with the Chicago Bears at 7.5. I talked about earlier in this podcast just how the Cleveland Browns, may be one of the worst franchises in terms of reality to expectation. So I don't want to put my faith in them. And then even though weather's concerned, 38.5, I think for sure that goes over. Shedeur Sanders has been, honestly, the last game when he rallied for that comeback, he's been looking electric. And then we all know the Chicago Bears are a top 5, top 6 sort of offense. So I think that that's a low total. Obviously it depends. I'd keep an eye on the weather if you're going to make that back closer to the game. But those are my picks.
Sorry, you took Cleveland?
Nope.
I'm sorry, I'm taking the Bears following soccer here too.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I took the Bears minus 7.5 and the over.
Gonna agree again. I can't say anything. The Cleveland offense exploded, lost, and it was against the Tennessee Titans. So I don't think this offense is going to be clicking as it was against the Titans, especially on the road in Chicago. I think it's going to be a grind. I think it will reach 40 points. But I think it's going to be like a 31-10 type of game in favor of the Bears. And, it's one of those games where the Bears win, we forget about it, we move on. Mm-hmm. So I agree with you on this one. By the way, Dunze, questionable. I know that impacts your fantasy. So I don't have confirmation if he's in or out, but it does impact your week in fantasy football, does it not?
Yes. Let me, I'm just making sure because he was a Dunze I drafted in 5 of my 8 leagues. I really liked him in the 8th round. But let's see if this impacts my team.
Live here, folks. Live.
Yep. I do. I got him on the bench. That being said, I have a lot of wide receivers in this league: Nakua, McMillan, Stephon Diggs, McLaurin, and a Dunze. So
all those guys in the one team.
Yeah, and this is the 14-man league as well, 4-1-6.
So if Dunze is healthy and there's no question mark, is he cracked the starting lineup for you?
Honestly, I don't know. He's been at the beginning of the year, I would have considered him my first or second best receiver, but he's been really underperforming. A lot of goose eggs on even games where they're successful. So I don't know. I might sit him coming back off injury.
Okay.
We'll have to see how that plays out.
Coming off injury, weather, and you got a guy like Stephon Diggs who's probably going to be in a shootout kind of game.
Yeah, you know what? Stephon Diggs has to be above him, right?
I got to think so.
Yeah.
Okay, and then just want to make sure I get a. Come on, man! The guy misses the net in soccer. Come on, it's bullshit. Well, we move on to the 4:00 card, which is a heavy. No teams on buys. We got a mismatch. I think probably you could argue maybe the biggest mismatch of the day, and that's the 49ers coming off a bye week hosting the absolute insignificant Tennessee Titans. So the 49ers are 12.5-point favorites. The over-under is 44.5. Is there a way that Tennessee comes through here and wins this game outright?
Outright, no. Outright, I don't. There's a very, very small chance. So I don't think it's completely impossible, but I don't think so. Give it a 5% chance they win.
Okay. What about the line here? Do the 49ers cover or no cover?
All right, I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna take the Tennessee plus 12.5 here. I know it sounds a little crazy.
I thought you said, quote unquote, never again. Never
12
again.
12.5 is a lot of points.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, if it was 100, I can't still take the Titans, right?
So never again doesn't mean never again.
No, I guess not.
Well, I'm gonna ride that train as well. I'll say that the Titans cover, even though I have no logic to why. I just feel that the 49ers will not blow them out. And Tennessee, I don't know. I feel like they'll hang around.
I think this is the first one of the podcast for me, but give me the under.
Whoa. I'm going to go over. Screw it. All right, not going to spend too much time on that one. We're going to go move on to a bit of a heavyweight tilt here. In the NFC, we got the Detroit Lions heading into SoFi to take on the Los Angeles Rams. What a matchup. Get your popcorn ready. Dan Campbell heading into SoFi to take Sean McVay and the Rams. Now, from a playoff perspective, let's go back and just make sure we're on the same page of exactly how things stand for the Lions. The Lions are out looking in. So they are one game out, 8-5. The Bears are 9-4. The 49ers are 9-4. Seahawks. This is really a bad situation for the Detroit Lions. They head into the LA Rams, arguably the top team in the NFL right now, versus against teams that they got to chase that are, the 49ers are playing the Titans and the Bears are playing the Browns. This is a must win for the Detroit Lions. They got to walk into SoFi here and beat the Rams. Can they do it?
Yeah. You know what? I like the Lions winning straight up on this game, if I'm being honest with you.
Whoa.
And you know what? This is right there with game of the week. Don't forget, guys, these teams quarterback swapped, and that's why they have their respected QBs now. But no, I think that this is a 50-50 game, and I think the line is very off. The Lions can be, any given week, they can become the best team in football. So right. I'm obviously taking the plus 5.5, looking at this as a 50-50 game. And I'm going to take the under. 54.5 just seems so much. I know.
So you're spouting out the whole podcast. What was the saying you say? What'd you say? Only overs?
Hey, I took the under on the last one too.
Yeah, you're 2 in a row now. Like this, you never bet the Titans again. Oh man, this it's going to be Austin the hypocrite from Ajax. From going on. So you like the Lions? I'm going to ride it too, man. Like I know we've been agreeing a lot last few of them, but I think this is stupid. But the Lions are a very likable team. The Lions and Dan Campbell, you want to see them succeed, in my opinion. Give me the Lions 5.5. They're playing indoors. You got Jahmyr Gibbs, which he's probably the most lightning type player out there right now. Explosive. Jared Goff coming back, obviously, spurned by the Rams. But you do have that MVP favorite on the other side, and that is Matthew Stafford. Mm-hmm. He also wants to put the boots to the Lions, who
is he the favorite?
We'll circle back after and we'll check it again because Drake May was the favorite. He had a bye week and Stafford had a big game against the Cardinals. I haven't checked it to see if he moved up in the FanDuel MVP candidate rankings there, but we'll see. 54.5, you like the under. I'm going to take the over because that's how I roll. And that's why it's called the overrated experience. So interesting stuff there. Big game. We'll see how it plays out. All right. Let's see if damn it. All right. I can't believe the Carolina Panthers are division leaders. I just cannot believe that the division leaders of the NFC South are the 7-6 Carolina Panthers. I don't get it. So we talked about some of the unpredictability. Did you see this coming? Would you have sat here at the start of the season and said, yeah, there's good value on the Panthers to really own this division? But they're in the driver's seat.
I'm the biggest Panthers guy you
bullshit.
Know, baby. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, definitely didn't see this coming. But, against the Saints only being a 2.5 favorite honestly seems like a really great value to me. I'm not saying the Panthers are a legit team, but against the New Orleans Saints, they might as well be. And then give me the over 40.5.
Yeah, man, again, we're on the same page here that
Yep.
I don't have full confidence in the Carolina Panthers. Yeah, I'm still not sold that they're real. They might be real to win this division, but I'm not sold enough where I think there's value here. A division leader heading into New Orleans against a team like the Saints should easily win, but I don't think it's going to be an easy walk for the Carolina Panthers. I'm just looking back at their schedule, and I'm trying to remember, the Carolina Panthers beat the Los Angeles Rams at home in a
That's
wild one
crazy.
last week. Lose against the 49ers on the road. They looked horrible. The Panthers did. They beat the Falcons a week earlier, and they lost against the Saints at home, right? 17-7, like a few weeks back.
Yeah, and I called that one.
Yeah,
I
you
remember.
did. You did.
Is that the one I called? Yeah.
You did. You
So I
had
just
a little
think
more
now,
faith.
I don't know. I got a feeling now they win by a touchdown here.
Okay.
But we'll see what happens. The Panthers, for me, I don't know. They're just such a hard team to predict. They're one of the reasons why I said it's one of the craziest seasons in football in the last 10 years. Who the hell saw this coming? Despite, who would have thought, oh yeah, this team is performing better better than the Chiefs this year. It's unbelievable. Better than the Chiefs, better than the Ravens. What is going on?
Yeah, and the team to me that absolutely has gotten lucky with the way the schedule's played out are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because they have the Carolina Panthers next week at home against the Panthers. The Carolina Panthers then have to play the Seahawks. Okay, so that's a shot that the Panthers may. That's a tough one for the Panthers to win, despite being at home. And then they got to head to Tampa in Week 17. So that game might be a factor. So Tampa Bay has 9 lives after pissing away a game against New Orleans the week previous, losing on Thursday night, choking a 14-point lead against the Falcons. But somehow the Buccaneers are still very much alive for this division. So we'll see how it plays out. So we both like Carolina as a value play. We both like the over. I do think there's going to be points scored in this game for sure. And then we go into the game of the day in some people's mind. We have the Green Bay Packers heading into Denver. AFC West Division leading Denver Broncos are 2.5-point underdogs at home against the surging Green Bay Packers. This is a heavyweight matchup. The Broncos get the job done. I would say that paints the picture of how this team operates. Their offense is it's okay. It gets the job done. Their defense stands out, obviously. But what do you think of them as dogs at home against the Packers?
You know what? They say the great saying is that defense wins games, right? And I'm not saying, I guess Green Bay's got an amazing defense too. But, I got a feeling being at home, Denver Broncos get it done this week. 2 great defenses, honestly, this week. Over 42.5 may be too much even. So I'm
You going under again?
Yeah, I'm going to go under again. Man, it was a big streak of overs, and now it's a big streak of unders. It's actually pretty crazy.
Well, 3 of the last 4
give me
have been
Denver. Under. That's the one I'm confident in here. The over and under 42.5. It should be right around there, in my opinion. But those are my picks.
I'm going to go the other way. I think this is back and forth. I say Green Bay wins by a field goal. I think they're surging right now. There is a chance they go flat. They've done that a couple points this season where they come into a matchup, let's say against Carolina at home, and lay an egg and their offense can't do anything. But I think they're in that consistent range right now where I think the offense we're seeing over the last few weeks is going to be the offense we get. Watson there and receivers lighting it up, for Jordan Love. They got a lot of good things going. I know Josh Jacobs is questionable, but if he's in there, man, he's a difference maker. And I think that they get the job done. I'm going to take the over. It's a primetime afternoon game, a lot of hype. A lot of things are going to happen. So give me over 42.5. But this is a game for sure. You might turn Red Zone off, and you might focus on this game to watch. We move on to maybe the story of the NFL so far this year. The Indianapolis Colts head into Seattle, 13.5-point dogs, over under 42.5. The Indianapolis Colts lose Daniel Jones for the season for an Achilles issue. They also, earlier this season, lost Anthony Richardson. He's hovering around, but he broke a bone, an orbital bone in warm-up. I don't know. This guy's career is going off the rails. Like, this would be the opportunity where Anthony Richardson would have had to at least show what he could do, but he's not available. It's not his fault he got injured, but it's just things are not going well for him. And usually a quarterback in a situation like Anthony Richardson is never going to get a sniff to get starting again unless there's a key injury to a Daniel Jones and he wasn't there to fill the spot. Instead, they have brought in 44-year-old Phillip Rivers, who knows Shane Steichen, head coach of the Colts, very well, knows his offense, and there is a shot that Leonard sits, the quarterback that came in and mopped up for Jones, and Phillip Rivers starts. And not only starts, but starts after like 4 or 5 years of not being in the NFL. Looks like he's 30 pounds overweight. And he goes into Seattle, maybe the worst place to play. So what are your thoughts here? Well, first of all, what are your thoughts about, Phillip Rivers just playing?
Yeah.
Potentially playing.
Unbelievable. Phillip Rivers, when he did play, was always a solid quarterback. I wonder if he could just be a game manager now. Obviously, there wouldn't be high expectations, but, could he reach that Jacoby Brissett level where he's a good backup quarterback, To look at this line and see 13.5 actually blows my mind. Just curious, does this give you any respect, or do you think this has anything to do with Sam Darnold or not at all? The filet-o-fish of football.
I know you love, the filet-o-fish of quarterbacks.
Give me that double patty filet-o-fish.
Yeah, that's sometimes you get in the mood for a filet-o-fish and, put the Big Mac on the back burner. But I don't know, man. I think the line is based on the history of the Seahawks team at home, whether it be the Saints, whether it be the Cardinals, really putting the boots to some of these unfortunate teams. And I think the bettors out there are labeling the Colts into that category now.
Yeah, they should. I thought that the Colts would have a little more respect than this. 9.5 is very different than 13.5. That's a lot of points.
Yeah, it is.
But Seattle, oh man.
I think that the fact that Jonathan Taylor's kind of been quiet as well over the last few weeks, he hasn't been, he was up there in the mix for MVP consideration, and that's off the table.
Unbelievable.
And, he hasn't lit it up the last couple of weeks or made a difference to where the quarterback play has fallen off. Man, I don't know, man. If they go down the road of Phillip Rivers, I get the idea that you got to think outside the box. You got to have balls as a coach to have the risk, because if it pays off, you're a genius.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't pay off, that it's an embarrassment, you look like such a fool, and it could damage your credibility going forward. So I respect the thought that I'm going to think of any way to put myself in the best position to win a football game. But I don't believe in Riley Leonard, the guy that's been there with this team on the bench, and I'm going right to a 44-year-old quarterback. I think he's going to probably be on the bench backing up this week and then called in if it gets ugly, right? But I think the Seahawks don't cover. I'm going to have faith. I like your faith in the Colts. I'm going to go with the Colts. I think this goes over 42.5. I think Njigba gets his yards like he normally does. But there might be some points here. What do you think?
I'm going to ride it with you. I'm going to go with the Colts plus 13.5 and the over.
All right. Go. And I'll tell you right now, I know you don't remember Phillip Rivers maybe like I do because, I'm older, that Phillip Rivers already had a reputation that he barely throw the ball. It looked like a shot putter, right? So 4 or 5 years later, I don't know what he has left. Yeah. And against Seattle D, too.
He was always a solid game manager, right? He was with what, the Chargers? Was he with the Chargers?
His bulk of his career was with the Chargers. He ended the last couple seasons with the Colts. So that's an interesting one.
Very interesting.
Keep an eye out for the news on Phillip Rivers.
That's definitely got to be one of the most interesting stories of the year.
100%.
100%.
And then we get into a pretty decent matchup here. We got Minnesota, which I thought would be a kind of a garbage matchup, but they come off a big win against the Commanders. The Cowboys losing and really crippling their hopes at a playoff matchup or a playoff position. They get CeeDee Lamb back. It looks like he's going to play after being concussed. I don't know. Did you see him get concussed against?
I didn't see it. I heard about it. I knew he was a question mark.
Yeah, he had one of those moments though where his fingers were going, like in the weird the way he got concussed. So it's hard to believe. I guess luckily they played on a Thursday, but he's going to be back. How much is he going to participate or contribute? Well, CeeDee Lamb's in the lineup. He's a go-to guy. Obviously, the Dallas Cowboys currently sit 6-1, 3 games out of I guess 2.5 games out of a playoff spot, and unlikely to be in the mix at season's end. While the Minnesota Vikings are basically 1 game away from the E beside their team name eliminated. What do you think of this matchup? The Cowboys are 6.5-point favorites. 47.5 is the over/under. What say you on how this is going to turn out?
One thing that, just to mention, one thing that was really interesting to me in that last game was when they won, Justin Jefferson really got no usage, which is kind of a big surprise. That being said, I got a feeling I am wearing a Cowboys jersey, though.
Yeah, you are.
But I got a feeling, I'm not necessarily saying that they win, but I think I want to roll with the plus 6.5 for the Minnesota Vikings. And I also want to roll with the under for the game. Those are my picks. Minnesota's still got a solid defense. I believe that the quarterback play is their issue with McCarthy this year. But maybe they get a little momentum from last week's win, keep it at least competitive, and I think 47.5 is a lot of points to score.
It is. Okay, so you like Minnesota?
Yes.
All right, well, let's see. I'm going to take the Cowboys. I think they light up the Minnesota Vikings. I think it was a blip on the radar of what we've seen last week in that win over the Commanders. You like the under, I'll take the over. I can't go into a Cowboys game thinking they're not going to score points. Their D is not that great. It's been better, but it's probably J.J. McCarthy. I don't know. He looked good last week, I guess, but then I don't think it's going to keep up. But we move on. Monday nighter, Minnesota heads into. Am I missing something? Is that the Sunday night of the Minnesota-Dallas game?
Minnesota. Sorry, I didn't have it ready here. No, that was that was the Sunday nighter. We're on to the Monday nighter, Miami versus Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay.
We just did Minnesota Cowboys.
Oh, I'm looking at a potential handball in the box. That's a handball. They better call that. I need a goal. That's a handball.
I guess I'll give you guys my thoughts.
Go ahead, because I'm caught up in Italian soccer.
I think Pittsburgh, I always say it every single week, different team at home than they are on the road. Minus 3 is not a lot of points. Miami is kind of a shell of what they were a couple of years ago. They were never really good against competitive teams, regardless. They always have that star power in A-Chain and Waddle, but I think minus 3 is too low. Give me Pittsburgh at home minus 3, and give me the over 41.5. Although I think it's close to that number.
All right. Are you aware that TJ Watt is out?
I wasn't aware of that, and that makes more sense with the line. But you know what? He's an impactful guy. Don't get me wrong. And the line, I'm less enthusiastic to take this now, but I'll still roll with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay. And then TJ Watt's out. He had a lung infection, I think a collapsed lung. So he's out.
And you know what? Did I say the under? I'm definitely with TJ Watt out. I think. Okay. Yeah. With TJ Watt out, I'm definitely going over. That's a big difference. That, to me, that's an extra touchdown from Miami.
I mean, the Dolphins are technically hanging around. They're 6-7, 6-7.
A lot of 6-7 teams.
It's funny how you look at the Dolphins as, can they make a run to the playoffs? But they have the same record as the Ravens and Chiefs, where the Chiefs are like, they're done, right? Yeah. Like they're done. Like it's a strange way of looking at how each team is sitting right now outside the playoff window. But the Dolphins, I think there's something about this team they're on fire right now.
Yeah,
I have a random Dolphins cover.
Yeah, I have a random question for you.
Yes.
All right, if you could take the Dolphins, the Chiefs, or the Ravens, one of those teams to make the playoffs at even money, would you take it or no?
I would take the Ravens because they have a better, more. They have.
So you would take the bet. I'm saying that only one of those teams would have had to get there, and you make your money.
I would say the Ravens. Yeah, the Ravens for sure. Because
I would say the Ravens
have the division.
Are the best bet.
Yeah. They have more control of their destiny.
Yeah.
Do you think so?
Yeah, and then obviously the Bucks, because of that same reason, even though they've been struggling, also have a
That's
great
right.
chance. But no, I agree. I agree.
They have more control of their final destination.
And I'll say this, their performance this year, although they should have won a couple games recently, their performance this year is excusable just because Lamar did miss like a third of the season or roughly half of the season, whatever it was.
Right. Okay, so let's look at where we're at now on the awards front. We wanted to talk about who is the leading odds on NFL MVP. So let's go there. Hold on a second here. Awards. And we got Matthew Stafford back at number 1 at minus 180. Drake May behind at plus 210. And he didn't even play last week. But, I mean, this could flip based on if the Patriots get the job done against the Bills and Matthew Stafford has a bland game against the Lions. So this probably is the make or break of the NFL MVP this weekend. Would you agree?
I completely agree, but I also think I think after this week Stafford runs away with it and he's no longer plus money. You know, we've been all over Stafford all year. I think Buffalo's going to beat the Patriots, so I think I mean he's already got leapfrogged, but I think
Right.
Stafford even though I think they're going to lose too, but I think that's wait, Stafford. Oh man, I always get Stafford and Goff mixed up on this podcast almost every week, and now they're facing each other. Great.
There you go. Well,
yeah.
Let me ask you this though. Let me ask you this. Jordan Love is plus 1,200 right now. Is there any chance he gets into the mix here, depending on how these last few weeks play out as a potential MVP? I think I wasn't thinking about Jordan Love. But how could you not, where this Packers team is going? If they walk into Denver and he has a game where you know or feel that his play pushed them to a victory, and then the other two don't have too much of a showing on Sunday, does Jordan Love become a value play right now before Sunday kicks off?
I mean, I could see him moving up to like a plus 600 with a great performance and a bad performance from those other guys. But I mean, I'd have to dive more into the numbers to get a for sure answer on that. But that's definitely a good, like a really good find, I would say.
And then you got
Dark
Josh
horse.
Allen plus 1,400. I think the ship has sailed on the MVP talk for Josh Allen, or has it?
I think it has. I don't know. I just look at Stafford, going count like 5 or 6 weeks where he's got 3 or 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. It's like looking back at just the regular season, it's like, man, I don't think these guys have come anywhere close to that. You know, Drake May makes sense because he's been like dominating the league unexpectedly. And not only that, but I understand that the public money would go towards there because the excitement. But I really do think that Drake May and Stafford are the clear guys, unless like someone kind of goes supernova, you know? But Love, I will say Love is not a bad one. Josh Allen, I don't think they'd give it to him. But right now, I want to stick with Stafford. I kind of don't want to look at anything else. I'm so convinced he'll win. And at plus 180 to be so certain of that guy winning, it's like I'm telling you guys to focus on that and hammer that over even these decent value plays. We can agree to disagree.
I'm not going to disagree, but what I'll tell you is that as much as the MVP is supposed to represent the performance over a 17-game schedule, if somebody finishes strong, I think that's weighted a lot heavier than if they performed earlier in the season and kind of were insignificant as the season concludes. So let's look at this. There's a chance that a Josh Allen could be in the MVP contention if they go into New England on Sunday, win, they knock off the Cleveland Browns the week after, they beat Philadelphia, and they head into that last week and steal the division from the New England Patriots. If they come back, if Josh Allen, who is looked at as a guy that's putting a team on his back and leads them to a division you thought was lost in this Bills season, see the narrative I'm building here? That the Bills are written off. Their window has closed. Sean McDermott needs to go. And then suddenly week 17 ends and they are division champions and everybody's hyped up like we were talking earlier that they have the pathway to the Super Bowl. That's going to be a big factor when it comes to NFL MVP voting. And maybe unfairly that a Matthew Stafford remember, he dropped out and Drake May became number one because the narrative was Drake May's rising this team up in New England to a division lead. It was unexpected. But Matthew Stafford didn't slow down. Yeah, he had a piss-poor game against the Carolina Panthers, but he came back strong in Arizona. But if he has a flat game against Detroit and then insignificant numbers as we move forward to the playoffs, or maybe he gets fewer reps because they're leading into the bye, they don't want to risk injury, does that hurt his chances to win MVP?
Yeah.
There's a lot to play out here. And I think there is value on a Jordan Love and a Josh Allen. I'm saying that we have locks here and bet it now, but don't lose the idea that this could happen. So that's my take on it. I'm very
fun. That'll be fun looking back at the end.
Yeah.
For sure.
So let's mark that. Let's remember this conversation when we talk about. And let's just do one more for fun. Let's see who right now the top 3 teams betting are to win the Super Bowl. Who do you think's number one?
Number one, it could be the Rams.
Could be the Rams because it is the Rams. So they're plus 390.
Yep.
Now, who do you think the next 2 are?
The next 2, Patriots are 2 or 3, I bet. No, Buffalo Bills 2 or 3.
No, well they're 4. Buffalo Bills are 4. Patriots are 5. Who's the 2 and 3?
Who would be 2 and 3? I'm struggling here.
NFC. Think of NFC, the top teams in the NFC.
Oh, Eagles. Now. Eagles are still there? No.
Nope. They're not even on the top 6.
Yeah. Okay. Broncos. Or sorry, that's
NFC. Think about your boy and your fillet of fish.
Yeah. Are the Broncos up there? Wait, really? Seattle is number 2 or 3?
Seattle is number 2 at plus 750, significantly behind, but they are number 2.
I would have never guessed they're number 2.
And number 3, also at plus 750. Who do you think there is? Show me the love.
It's NFC as well?
Yeah, show me the love.
Show me the love.
Come on,
Chicago?
I gave it to you.
Chicago?
No, show me the love. You're going to kick yourself.
Green Bay.
Yes. Yes, Green Bay is at number 3, but basically tied with Seattle. I mean, if you're looking at value here, LA, Seattle, Green Bay, only one of them can make the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Right? And the Bills there at plus 900.
I like that one.
If you have a one-off road or at home, do you really think that Josh Allen can't take that next step with the Chiefs out of the picture?
Yeah, he's the best quarterback that's going to be in the playoffs.
Okay, well there you go. Or at least in the AFC, right? Yeah. He's going to be the best quarterback and the most significant, impactful quarterback that will be in the playoffs. So we'll see how it plays out. Any other comments? What's your betting strategy this weekend? Like, I know NFL starts tomorrow, but do you have any plays, any thoughts heading into NHL coverage, college basketball? Man, I love it because we have NFL action. The college football playoff will start off next Friday, leading into the weekend. Anything you're looking forward to other than the NFL this weekend or this week coming up?
Just a small thing to mention, as Blue Jays fans here, another good signing for the Jays. Trevor Rogers added to the rotation or the bullpen. I guess it would be the bullpen. So that's a notable mention. But all my bets and picks, I've pretty much gone throughout the podcast. One thing, it's not even a great one, but you've told me multiple weeks to come with a fun concrete fact because I made
concrete fact.
Yeah, you told me. Yeah, you gave me crap on the podcast for not coming with the concrete fact. And this isn't even a great one. I'll be honest, I was on Google before the podcast making sure I had this ready. Fun fact, concrete has been mixed in space before. So there you go.
It has?
There you go. Yeah. Yes,
okay.
Concrete has been mixed in space before. I don't even know the intricacies or how that happened, what they did. But it's been done, and there's your fun fact.
Okay, that's your job. For next week, you got to come back and tell us a little more why and what was the reason why it was mixed in space.
All right, sounds good. I'll have that.
Concrete
done.
Facts by Austin from Ajax. Okay, so as we go forward, we want a few more concrete facts or stories about concrete each edition of the Overrated Experience Sports and Sports Betting Podcast. Anyway. The pleasure's all been yours for you listeners out there. Hopefully you can pass it on to your friends. Follow us on Overrated Experience on X, so Overrated EXPER2. That's Overrated EXPER2. Follow us on YouTube at Overrated Experience. The Overrated Experience is over and out. Austin from Ajax is out. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. Good luck in your bets, and we'll talk to you again next week. Bye-bye.